Anessa, give me something real quick.
Nut goodies. Nom 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 nom.
Okay, looks good. Brad, give me something.
I love putting your nut goodies in my mouth.
All right.
They are pretty awesome.
That sounds great. All right.
You're welcome, Dave.
Okay, recording audio, Hangout's going. Let's grab the link, and then we'll go live on the old Alpha Geek Radio. Bam. That. Go over here, the alien invasion. Click on that. Looks like we're good. There. And we're there, and we're there. All right. All right, let's start. I'm going to hit the old intro, and we'll be off to ye old races. So here we go. Stand by.
You are listening to Alpha Geek Radio.
The following is a production of Galactic Netcasts.
We interrupt this program to give you a bulletin just received from one of our naval units at sea. A large object traveling at supersonic speed is headed over the North Atlantic toward the east coast of the United States.
This earth of yours will be reduced to a burned-out cinder.
This could be the beginning of the end for the human race. Human beings cower before the onslaught of these unearthly enemies.
Hello, it's Thursday, February 18th, 2016. We're over 5 years old. Or no, we're just about 5 years old, y'all. And I can't read. Welcome to the Alien Invasion number 174, a production of Galactic Netcasts. It's amazing, guys. It's in bold. It's capitalized. It says, we're just over 5 years old, y'all. Oh, wait a second. That's what I said.
Yes.
I thought it said, we're just about 5 years old.
No, we're just over 5 years old, y'all.
Okay. Actually,
you were talking about January as being our 5 year.
Technically, we're not. No, what I meant to say was in 2011 we started Galactic Netcasts.
Oh.
I don't believe Brad and I did the Alien Invasion till the fall, right, Brad? Or
correct.
Late summer of 2011.
Oh, yeah. So we're gonna be 5 years old, y'all.
5 years old, y'all. So we'll have that corrected for next time, people. Hey, I'm Dave Nelson. Joining me as always, Brad Ludwig and Anessa Moyens. Hello, people.
Hello.
It's been a couple of weeks. How was your guys' couple of weeks off from doing this show that we only do once a week?
Well, pretty good, because last week we had a school event for Alex, and he had a history project that he did on the Milwaukee Railroad, and it's one of, what, five?
Five in his school.
Five in his school that got selected to be on display at the Historical Society here in town.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So,
very proud of him.
Alex. Yeah. Rock on.
Word.
So what was the take on the history of the railroad? What was the angle?
Its usage for transportation of people and goods.
Okay.
Essentially.
Yeah. Cool. No, that's it's very interesting to think back as to how much ingrained in our daily lives the railroad was back in the 1800s, early 20th century.
Yep.
19th century.
Sometime
mid to late 18th century. Oh God, now you got me doing it. Mid to late 18th century. No, 19th century. Sorry. God. Up to today.
I'm sorry.
Oh, Dave Nelson. Curse you, Dave Nelson.
I'm not even gonna try.
How I roll. That's how I do things.
Word.
Yeah, it's been an interesting last few days here. We got over 20 inches of snow in about, I don't know, 15 hours or so. It was.
Oh wow.
So
that was more than we got on our little snowstorm, which was like, what did we finally get? Like 6 inches, maybe, if that.
Yeah, this was record breaking. It was like the most snow that Ottawa had received in a day in 24 hours since like the 1950s or something like that.
Wow. Yeah, because we had a snow day a couple weeks ago, and like they shut down all the schools, and then we ended up only getting like 6 inches, maybe 7. No, I think it was 6 inches because it was supposed to be an estimated like 7 to 12
Okay,
inches of
so
snow.
they were basing it on their decision on that, and then it turned out to be less than they were expecting.
Well, because the system ended up slowing down at some point, and then I think it shifted direction a little bit, so most of the snow ended up, I think, to the south, maybe.
Yeah.
That'll
So,
happen.
yeah, it happens, but I got the day off, so I'm not complaining.
There you go.
And I had chili.
All
Even
right.
better.
So let's talk about little aliens. This is the podcast where we talk about extraterrestrials and their appearances all over the place. We're talking film, TV, video games, comic books, science, and quote unquote real life. The show is sectioned off into 3 areas: the news, the sightings feature, and our picks for the week. Before we start, we would like to personally thank Alpha Geek Radio for letting us stream our audio and video on Alpha Geek. So if you guys are watching or listening to us, hello, Alpha Geek people. It's great to be here.
Hello.
And while you're at it, follow us on Twitter, join our Facebook group, or subscribe to our YouTube channel. And all the proper links are on our main website at gncasts.com. All right, you guys ready to do a little alien talk, alien chat, alien
Shenanigans.
Yeah? You ready?
Absolutely.
Maybe.
Okay. Well,
Maybe.
too late, Vanessa.
Oh, it's on.
Okay.
In the news,
You better be ready, Vanessa, because you're number 1. You're first on the agenda here.
I'm number 1. I'm number 1. Mufon, the Mutual UFO Network. They may have recorded the first alien contact going by a bizarre report filed with the organization by a distressed entity that claims to be an extraterrestrial being named Mogay. Mogay. The report sent by Mogay appears to be an SOS, and according to Mufon, it is the first time that the organization has received a report from an entity claiming to be an intelligent alien life form. Mogay claims to be stranded on Earth and in need of urgent help after arriving last September from a distant sector of our galaxy. And while awaiting response from Mufon, Mogay is residing in a human body he claims he took over with the consent of the original human owner. Mogay exists in his natural state as an electromagnetic wave, but he is able to take over and reside inside the bodies of humans and other extraterrestrial species. The alien being, who appears to be struggling to learn the English language in his new human body, writes to Mufon, "I am an extraterrestrial being adopted by humankind. You can call me Mogay." He explains that he and a group of his kind are refugees from a distant planet called Matif. They escaped to Earth after a catastrophic collision between their native planet Matif and a celestial body that knocked Matif out of orbit around its parent star. Mogay writes in quaint English, We were stay as electromagnetic wave and normally use replaceable bodies to work. A celestial body made most of our equipment can't work. We tried to make it get away from Matif, but we failed, and that celestial body hit the Matif. Although the adverse effects of celestial body had gone when it knocked out of its orbit, but it's no more time for us to took refugee with transfer system. The disaster on Matif made us survive on Earth. We were stay as electromagnetic wave and normally use replaceable bodies to work. It appears from Mogay's account that the group of alien refugees from Matif arrived on Earth in September 2015, but no one noticed their presence because, as pure electromagnetic waves, they were unlike the little green men Earthlings imagine aliens to be. This is actually pretty painful to read. We're extraterrestrial beings without enough protection on the Earth, and we need your help. I live in a human body now, and that's also why your people adopted me. I learned your languages in this body so I can talk to you, Mogay writes. But despite having found a human body and the opportunity to learn human culture and language, he has not been able to convince governments that he is really an alien from a distant galaxy who needs help. He is presumably being ignored by government officials he has contacted as a cranky alien enthusiast. Mogay finally decided that the best way to contact government was through the world's biggest alien and UFO investigators, Mufon. Or Mufon, as they say on the X-Files. I tried my best to find help from Earth's people since September 2015, and I noticed the governments will not negotiate with me without your help. I hope to get help from this platform. And Mogay's assumption that Mufon could help him contact government seems reasonable. The organization was established to document and investigate cases of UFO sightings and alien contacts. But unfortunately, Mogay would be disappointed to find that not even alien and UFO investigators take his story seriously. Womp womp. MUFON admits on its website that it often receives bogus reports. Thus, MUFON officials are likely to assume that Mogay's SOS is just another hoax. And it would be very regrettable if, in fact, Mogay's message was a genuine plea for help from an alien being stranded on Earth. But humans who take inexplicable pleasure in hoaxes and needless deception would be to blame. Shame on you, pranksters. Shame on you. One of the greatest burdens that UFO investigators have to bear in the course of their collecting and investigating sighting reports submitted by members of the public is the deluge of apparently false reports that have to be waded through and eliminated from the stream of incoming data, writes MUFON investigator Peter Davenport. What prompts people to create and submit bogus reports is unclear, he continues. However, the fact remains that such deception takes place constantly, and that it probably will continue in ufology and elsewhere until long after we have finally laid to rest the mystery of UFOs. Oh, poor Mogay.
Oh, MUFON does not believe that this person is an actual real extraterrestrial.
My big question is, this extraterrestrial being was able to ask and receive permission from a human, and they didn't speak the human language. So how did they get permission? Or did they just assume that they had permission? Or maybe they think that if a person opens their mouth to scream, that means, hey, come on in.
Maybe they were using
cultural difference, you never know.
They were using the galactic language of love.
You.
Yeah. I started to watch a movie called, was it Alien Exorcism? And for some reason, this article brought that movie to mind. I got maybe halfway through, if even that, and I just never got around to watching it again. The concept I was okay with. It was the execution. I don't know. It wasn't that great of a movie from what I had seen, unless it picked up at the other half.
Never heard of it.
Good.
Probably a good reason for that.
I know. But yeah, I might eventually get around to finishing it, but I'm not motivated to do so anytime soon. So
Great, get a pinch kind of pick, right? Like you've already watched half of it or whatever.
right. It's like I could watch the other half and be like, stay away from this movie. Or hey, the second half was actually pretty decent.
I don't know why we call our picks because half the time we're like,
we're like, stay away. Picks and warnings. I don't know. But no, like, and the other thing this reminds me of is like the emails that you get from the Nigerian prince who's left you like $50 million and they need to like put it in your bank account because who knows what. That's the other thing that kind of makes me think of this as well.
Oh, you haven't heard the latest one?
I have not.
Brad, are you familiar with the latest scam?
I kind of remember something, but I think I blocked it out of my head.
So what is this latest scam?
Well, it has to do, I think it's a Nigerian again, but it's an astronaut. It's I think a Nigerian astronaut who's been stuck on some like old Russian space station.
Oh,
and
I have that I don't know.
I have not heard that one.
They're trying to raise money to rescue him.
Wow.
Is his name Mark Watney?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Anybody who would fall for that, I don't believe that anybody who would fall for that.
The people who thought that The Martian was based on a true story.
Oh, those people. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Those are the people.
Okay. All right. So before we move on, just to show of hands, who thinks this is an actual alien stuck on Earth using a human body to move around and communicate? Anybody? Bueller? Nope. Okay.
Yeah, not really.
Right.
But if he is, I do feel sorry for him.
Yeah. No. Poor, what's his name?
Mogay?
Mogay. Oh.
Mogay.
All right. Let's move on to story number 2. I should put together some kind of like audio. Story number 2. 2.
Sunday.
All right, Brad, what do you got?
Well, the story I have is actually kind of fascinating. They're using a scientific method to create a sort of family tree for aliens. Now, there's a pair of researchers at Harvard, and they're preparing for the day when humans encounter alien life. The idea that life on distinct planets might be related is known as panspermia. And we've talked about this before. In this view, life arises on one planet and is transported to others, either through space exploration or, more likely, incidentally aboard a meteor. The test that these two astronomers have put together, they came up with this as a way to analyze discoveries of life on exoplanets, and which are planets outside of our own solar system. Hopes for such discoveries have largely been fantastical, but that might be changing. In 2018, NASA plans to launch the James Webb Space Telescope, which will have an unprecedented ability to analyze the atmospheres of exoplanets. If this particular telescope or successive telescopes beyond that one detect certain chemical signatures, like the presence of molecular oxygen, chlorophyll, or industrial pollution, it could be telltale evidence that life exists on those planets. And that's what these two doctors, Doctors Lin and Loeb, that's where their work would spring into action. If they were to detect evidence of life on, say, 25 different planets, their test would allow astronomers to study those planets and how they're distributed, and make a good guess about whether or not they tie back to a common source. When you look at the statistical probability of where life is found, you can try and infer whether panspermia was responsible for transferring life from one system to another, says Loeb. Henry Lin, creator of the statistical test that would allow the astronomical community to determine whether blooms of life on different planets are one-off events or related to each other, makes a similar point. And he explains that if life has the ability to spread from planet to planet, it's reasonable to imagine it might do so in a way that a virus spreads through a population of people. Viruses don't just randomly appear amongst all people uniformly. They form in these sort of bubbles, Lin says. This is similar to what we might expect in space. It may be decades or longer before we're able to detect alien life, if it exists at all, but other astronomers think Lynn and Loeb's test is well designed to tell us something meaningful should detection occur. It's kind of exciting to step beyond the challenge of finding life and take a flight of imagination and think, what if we really did turn on the detectors, light up the galaxy, and see lots of planets with life? Says Gregory Laughlin, an astronomer at the University of California, Santa Cruz. Laughlin also thinks that where Lynn and Loeb's test is useful is the first discoveries of extraterrestrial life that would likely be much closer to home and much easier to explain. I'm pretty confident we will find life on Mars, and I'm also pretty confident it will turn out to be clearly the same genesis as life on Earth, he says. Either life started on Mars and was delivered to Earth, or vice versa. Or it could have arisen on Venus. And this article comes from the Boston Globe.
This is a very interesting story, Brad. A lot of possibilities here.
And I hacked out some bits, which is why I was having a hard time speaking parts of them, because the article is much longer and gets into more detail. So we'll have the link in the show notes for you to take a closer look at the story, because it is really, really interesting.
So they're basically trying to map like an alien genome, right?
Well, not necessarily. I think they're taking liberties with the title of the story. Essentially, they're looking for the trail, like in an actual like family tree. Okay. This person was the grandfather, this person had 3 children, and then they had 3 children, and then this one had 2 children, and so on and so forth. So they're actually trying to map out a family tree and find out if they do find life, if there's a pattern to where they might have come from or how it may have arisen, if there are similarities in the chemical, compositions of the atmosphere, maybe the same type of industrial pollution perhaps, or certain things. They're just basically trying to lay the groundwork for doing the math and the analysis when the time comes.
So this might be helpful someday to try to pinpoint where there's alien life in the galaxy.
Correct.
Okay. Got it. Huh. Very interesting.
Yeah, it is very cool.
Science.
Woohoo!
It's
good stuff. Way to go, science.
Way to go, science.
All right. Cool. Let's go from something that you need your brain to kind of wrap around to something from a guy who uses his brain a lot. We're talking Neil deGrasse Tyson. You guys familiar with the old Neil deGrasse Tyson?
Never heard of him.
Yes. Yes, we are.
He's a astrophysicist, right? That's how you say it? Astrophysicist?
Yes. Exactly like that.
He's a professional smarty pants. That's his.
Some people might feel that way.
And host of Star Talk.
Yeah.
Yep.
The podcast, and it was a TV show for a while. Maybe it still is. I don't know.
Cosmos?
No. He did the Cosmos, but then they did a TV show version of his podcast, Star Talk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was just thinking about like Cosmos when they brought it back.
Love Cosmos.
Yeah.
Okay, so Neil deGrasse Tyson, famous astrophysicist, he gives his 10 favorite Hollywood aliens. He recently tweeted a list out of his favorite sci-fi aliens using the List app. What the hell is the List app? You guys know?
It's an app where you make lists.
Really?
I have no idea. The List app. Oh, hey, create and share lists about anything.
That's pretty obvious, right? Pretty what it is. I just never heard of it. It's
I've never used it, so I'm not at all familiar with it. I was just guessing from the name.
flew under my radar. You know what? I find myself not being in touch with technology like I used to. I was like, for a few years there, I was on it, man. I was like every cutting edge thing I knew about, but now it's like whatever. Okay.
I know the feels, yo.
Word.
Okay, so I didn't include all 10 of his favorite movie aliens. So I think I picked 5 of the 10, so half the list. Kind of a good cross section of what he picked. So one of them was the alien from Predator, and he has he gives his reasons for each one why it's his favorite. Anything that hunts humans better than the way humans hunt big game is singularly terrifying, Tyson wrote. Although still an actor in a rubber suit, its tactics, methods, and tools were entirely alien to us. And on a side note, they put out this week the first teaser image for the next Predator movie. Just on a related note.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. All right, so the next one on his list, his favorite Hollywood aliens, is the aliens from Alien. Gotta love ugly aliens with teeth, Tyson says on his list app entry. Again, terrifying, not because they looked like terrifying animals on Earth, but because they looked like nothing we've ever seen on Earth. So basically, as far away from anything we know already, that's why they're so freaky. Which is true. I mean, first time you guys saw the aliens from Alien, did it really freak you out? Like you were like,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it did.
Now, was the first time you saw the aliens on the first movie or the second movie?
First movie.
Okay. Vanessa?
I don't remember. I was a kid.
Okay.
I remember seeing that film.
I didn't see it in the theater.
It was
Because
before
that
you
came out in like 79 and
Yeah.
I wasn't born until 80.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't see it in the theater.
But no, I think I saw the second movie before I saw the first movie. So it would have been the second one for me.
All right. They were a little bit more elaborate the second movie, and they showed them more. The first
yeah.
movie barely
The first one. Well, the first movie I really enjoyed because it was more like in your head, like you knew something was there.
Yep. That's true.
And yeah, like and whereas I think once they presented the alien and then by the second movie they had a bigger budget so they could actually show the alien more.
It was a different
But-
type of scary, the second movie.
Yeah, it was a different type of scary, but the first one it was more psychological than, hey, here's this creepy looking alien thing.
Mhm.
So yeah.
But once you saw it, you're like, that's different. Uh-huh.
Yep. The little thing shooting out from inside its mouth, like wow.
Yeah, a mouth within a mouth. That's creepy. Okay,
Just
so
imagine how awesome you would be at like one of those food eating
Oh,
competitions.
yes, the xenomorph would.
Bobbing for apples.
I know.
Yeah, perfect. Kobayashi, watch out.
Yep.
Kobayashi, that's the Japanese or the Japanese, right? Or I don't know.
So would the alien
Yeah,
get its
the-
own
the
TV
eating.
show, like Alien versus Food, as opposed to Man
Yes.
versus Food?
Yes.
Excellent.
Okay. The next one on Neil deGrasse Tyson's list from the List app, his favorite Hollywood aliens, the aliens from the Blob. An alien with no DNA in common with life on Earth should look more different from life on Earth than any two life forms on Earth look from one another. That's confusing. Let me say that again. An alien with no DNA in common with life on Earth should look more different from life on Earth than any two life forms on Earth look from one another. Oh, I understand now. Okay. Behold the Blob, he says. Neil deGrasse Tyson. Behold the Blob. That movie freaked me out as a kid. Like when Brad, do you remember Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon movies on the local TV growing up? Did you guys have that thing? Have that?
Not that I can recall.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, I can't recall that.
Maybe because we had more TV stations growing up
Yeah.
in Minneapolis.
Yeah, we just had a handful. So
Yeah. We had like a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon movie, and it was always something on the older side. And I remember seeing the Blob at my neighbor's house in their basement and being freaked out by it. It was pretty freaky.
yeah.
So it was just
At noon, I'd be less freaky, freaked about it. It's something that you'd want to watch at night,
yeah.
or not if you're a kid.
Well, they're okay.
But like I watch it now, and I'm like, tee.
Yeah, because we know better, and it's a cheesy old
And
movie.
it's really cheesy because you've got the Blob on the ground, and the guy is like poking at it with a stick, and then like split second, it's like up on the stick.
Yep.
But it takes like an hour for it to even move out of the hole in the ground.
Yeah, but we know
we
better. We're adults. We're seeing it from an adult view. But when you're a kid, you don't know any better. Plus,
oh my god, the Blob's gonna get everybody.
at the time too, there wasn't much else. It was yeah. Go ahead, Brad. Sorry.
The Steve McQueen version or the Erica Eleniak version from the 80s?
The Steve
I'm talking about Steve McQueen version.
McQueen. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Wasn't that a pick of yours?
Yes, it was. It was a pick of mine, I think.
Okay.
Somebody's.
Yeah.
One of the two.
Somebody picked it.
Somebody picked it. It was one of us. Surprise.
Okay, so number 3 on is not the official number 3, but the third one that I picked from Neil deGrasse Tyson's list is the aliens from Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Don't you ever do that again.
Okay.
Did we find Brad's Achilles heel?
Maybe.
Apparently.
Did it freak you out a little bit, Brad?
A little bit.
Vanessa, do it again.
No.
He told me not to.
Come on, dude.
Nope.
I might have to sleep on the couch tonight if I do it again.
We saw World War Z a few years ago in the theater, and I think right after the movie was done. Have you guys seen World War Z? The movie?
Yes.
And the zombies in that movie do a thing with their teeth where they're at. Yeah. And I do that every once in a while and freak Layla out. She doesn't too much.
I went to go watch that movie with my friend James. He is very much not a scary movie kind of guy, but he wanted to see that movie. And I had more fun messing with him during the movie than watching the actual movie itself. Because I would just like randomly turn in my seat and he's like, stop it.
And it's such an easy thing to do, right? It's like
It is. It's so easy to do. So I like to mess with my friends with movies and stuff because I had a roommate in San Antonio and she wanted to go see I think it was The Exorcism of Emily Rose. And there's a scene where like Emily bends back and she's pointing or something. And my roommate didn't want to go home. She wanted to see where it was well lit and there were people around. And so, and it was late at night. It was like around midnight, I think, at that point. And work was the only option and they were offering overtime. So we both went into work. And because, extra monies. Well, for me, for her, it was like, I'm away from creepy things. Except for me, I'd turn around and like lean back in my chair and like point at her and she'd freak out. I'm a horrible friend.
you just like to have fun, that's all. At other people's expenses.
I do. But I laugh at myself all the time, so I think it's okay.
Okay, so why do you guys think the aliens from Invasion of the Body Snatchers are freaky? Why
Because you wouldn't be able to easily identify who the aliens were because they look like us because they're inside of people.
And if you like take the time to sleep, that's when the pods come for you.
Yeah. And so it's like people are just going to die from sleep deprivation.
Yep. That's pretty freaky. Okay, so the last one on his list, Neil deGrasse Tyson's list, is the aliens from Contact. And what he liked about these were a film that doesn't show its aliens. The transcendental beings rely on the human character's internal thoughts to reach out. But we must respect their power to communicate via memories of that which is familiar to us, Tyson wrote. So, again, different way of aliens communicating with us, this time with our memories. So we never actually see the aliens, which is, see, it goes back to the whole Alien, the aliens in Alien, the first movie. You didn't really see them till the end. You don't see the aliens at all in Contact. They're just, they're assumed, I guess.
Yep.
All right, that is my story. You can check out the rest of Neil deGrasse Tyson's list of favorite Hollywood aliens via the link that we'll put in the show notes. Before we move on to the sightings, I would like to point your browser, or I'd like to ask you to point your browser to patreon.com/galacticnetcasts. That's patreon.com/galacticnetcasts. It's our way of raising money every month to pay for things such as web hosting and soon audio hosting. And it's not to make us rich. It's not for us to pay for frivolous things. It's to basically keep the lights on, to let us afford to actually continue doing this. So we have these things called rewards. You can give as little as $1 a month, right? It's $1 out of your checking account every month. You won't notice that it's gone. And actually, you won't notice much more after that, too, because we have the $3 level. And with the reward, with the $3 level, what do they get, Brad?
They get a punch in the throat.
What a horrible reward.
No.
Yeah. We love our listeners.
I'm sorry.
How about they pay you not to get punched in the throat?
Okay, so how about at the $3 level, you'll get a newsletter once a month with extra stories that relate to all of our podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
And at the $5 level, you get an extra episode of each of our podcasts, and they're available exclusively to our donating patrons.
Yeah, and this is recurring donation every month.
Yes.
And like I said before, you'll hardly notice $3 a month coming out of your checking account. Or, for some people, $5 a month. So think about that. We would really appreciate it. And again, it's not going to anybody's, mad money account. We're not spending it on stupid things. We're spending on stuff that we actually need to keep the machine running. So again, patreon.com/galacticnetcast, and please consider making a recurring donation every month to help us keep the lights on. Okay, Dan, let's continue things with this right here.
Please identify the craft you witnessed.
A black, triangular, three-dimensional shape, huge, just flying, hovering mimic.
Shaped almost like between an egg and a teardrop.
Two long cylinder objects flying over me.
It had a dome. I could see the occupants in it.
It appeared to be rotating, and it was circular in a disc shape, and it hovered for maybe about 5 minutes.
All right, it's time for sightings. And Essa, it was your turn this week to find one. What do you have?
Well, I mentioned it briefly, I think, in the last episode that I had found a sighting that I wanted to talk about from the 1940s. It is a UFO crash and retrieval in Missouri in 1941. Bum, bum, bum. Because that's before Roswell.
I was going to say, yeah, that's way before.
And it happened in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, and it's one of the most mysterious stories of a crashed UFO with alien bodies that preceded the well-known Roswell event by some 6 years. Reverend William Huffman was summoned to pray over alien crash victims outside of Cape Girardeau, Missouri, in the spring of 1941. He was shown 3 victims, not human as expected, but small alien bodies with large eyes, hardly a mouth or ears, and hairless. The type of case is classified as a major case. I was not aware that there's a HINET classification, or there was a name for the, how you have close encounters of the first kind, second kind, third kind, fourth kind. I didn't know that classification system had a name. It's Hynek. Surprise! So the classification is CE3, which is close encounter of the third kind. And the third kind would be, it would have visible occupants. So it would be close encounter of the first kind, which is in close proximity within 500 feet of the witness, like the craft. Of the second kind, a UFO that leaves markings on the ground, causes burns or paralysis to humans, frightens animals, interferes with car engines or TV and radio reception. And the third kind is one of the previous two, but with occupants of the craft visible. Now you know.
And the fourth kind is people, that's abduction, right?
That's Party Central. You're in the club dancing with the aliens. So the fourth kind is, well, actually it's abduction cases. And the fifth kind is where you have communication between a person and an alien. So you can follow each other on Twitter.
And the sixth kind, close encounters of the sixth kind, you're dating.
Your Facebook official.
You're picking out China patterns.
Okay. So anyway, I came across an old article. I'm not sure from when the article was published or where, but it says a Virginia man is investigating the possibility that a UFO crashed near Cape Girardeau in 1941. That would be 6 years before Roswell, said James Westwood of Centerville, Virginia, referring to the 1947 incident in which the government allegedly recovered and then covered up a UFO crash in New Mexico. That would put Cape Girardeau County on the UFO map. Excuse me. Southeast Missouri already is known for UFO activity. Dr. Harley Rutledge, a former chairman of the physics department of Southeast Missouri State University, who is now retired, has investigated reports of strange sightings seen flying through the skies near Piedmont and other UFO reports. Project Identification, the first scientific field study of UFO phenomena, outlines Rutledge's research. Westwood said Rutledge told him that he has not heard of the 1941 incident. Westwood, a retired Navy man and engineer, is looking for people who may remember the incident from 1941 when some type of aircraft reportedly crashed approximately 3 to 15 miles outside of Cape Girardeau. Westwood bases his investigation on an account by Charlotte Mann, a Texas woman whose grandfather, the Reverend William Huffman, was a pastor of the Red Star Baptist Church from 1941 to 1944. Leonard Stringfield, a renowned UFO investigator, recounted Mann's story in July 1991 issue of his Status Report, a monthly publication of UFO activities and investigations. Mann told Stringfield her grandfather got a call one spring night from police asking him to accompany them to the site of an airplane crash outside town in case the victims needed a clergyman. A car was sent to get him, but grandmother said it wasn't a police car, Mann said in Stringfield's recounting of the story. Sorry, the spelling of Stringfield has been spelled 3 different times so far. So it's either Stringfield, or Stringyfield. So I'm going with Stringfield.
Go with Stringyfield the rest of the time.
Stringyfield. So a car was sent to get him, but grandmother said it wasn't a police car, Mann said in Stringyfield's recounting of the story. When Huffman got to the crash scene, Mann said, he noticed one piece of wreckage that appeared to have a rounded shape with no edges or seams, and a, quote, very shiny metallic finish. Police officers, plainclothesmen, and military officers were already at the scene sifting through the wreckage, Mann said. Laid to one side of the scene were 3 bodies, not human, she recounted. It was hard for him to tell if they had on suits or if it was their skin, but they were covered head to foot in what looked like wrinkled aluminum foil, Mann said. He could see no hair on the bodies, and they had no ears. They were small frame like a child, about 4 feet tall, but had larger heads and longer arms. Their faces had large, oval-shaped eyes, no noses, just holes, and no lips, just small slits for mouths. Huffman was told by one of the military officers at the scene not to tell anyone what he had witnessed for security reasons, Mann told Stringfield. Huffman told his wife, Floy, and their 2 sons what he had seen when he returned home from the crash site, but never spoke of it again. Huffman died in 1959. His wife, who died in 1984, told Mann the story. A few weeks after the crash, Huffman was apparently given a photo of 2 men holding one of the corpses found at the scene. Mann's father loaned the photo to a friend, but never saw it again. What a horrible friend. Now Westwood, who read Mann's account in Stringfield's publication, is looking for others who may remember hearing about the crash. What you need here is another source, at least one other person who says, I sort of remember this, Westwood said. Even if it's a second-hand account, you've at least got another source. Mann's account says the crash happened in the spring. Westwood speculates it may actually have happened in the fall because of the mention of a field fire caused by the crash. In the spring, he reasons, vegetation would have been too wet to burn easily, but in the fall, it's very dry. He also speculates the military officers on the scene may have been called from an Army Air Corps base in Sikeston at the time. If the crash happened, the military and police wouldn't have known what they were looking at, Westwood said, because Roswell and the other early UFO sightings hadn't happened, and the incident may have been covered up for military security reasons since the U.S. was gearing up for World War II. It wouldn't be implausible for the incident to have been reported as an airplane crashed, Westwood said. Westwood says a lot. Westwood began researching Mann's story at the beginning of the year. He has been in Cape Girardeau for the last week reviewing local records and looking for potential sources. He hasn't had much luck. So far, no one he has talked to has admitted to knowing anything. There isn't anything I would consider even close. He found a report of students' pilot's airplane crash near Morley in Scott County in May 1941, and a local pilot told him about another crash near Oak Ridge that happened in spring 1941. The other problem is the Huffmans left the area not long after the alleged crash. The Cape Girardeau City directory lists the Huffmans from 1942 to 1944, but they aren't listed in the 1945 directory. Records from the Southeast Missourian say Huffman became pastor of the church in September 1941. And Stringfield, who investigated hundreds of reports of UFO crashes and retrievals, died in 1994. His family has refused to release his files to other researchers. Westwood says he has never seen a UFO or been in contact with extraterrestrials. There's no doubt in my mind that UFOs are real flying objects from outer space, he said. He points to similarities in thousands of sightings and reports from people who have reported having contact with extraterrestrials as evidence that something is out there. But what he calls the culticism around the study of UFOs and false reports by attention-seeking heretics just detracts from evidence given by witnesses or people who claim contact. Westwood says, aren't any crazier than anybody else.
Darn right.
Yep. So, I don't know how legit this phone number is, but if you or anyone else happen to have lived in the Cape Girardeau area in the 1940s, 1941, when this crash may have happened, you can give James Westwood a call at 703-222-0978.
I think this is the first time that we've given out a phone number on the podcast that wasn't our voicemail. That's weird.
It is. It really is. but it's there. And like I said, I don't know exactly how old this article is, if this number is still in service, if James Westwood has since found what he's looking for and has moved on. I don't know.
I would love to find out if we had people of that age that listen to our podcast.
I know, or maybe even talking about like a grandparent.
Oh yeah, okay. Maybe heard a story from,
or like an aunt or an uncle or great aunt or great uncle or something, depending on how old people are. So yeah, I mean, just any relative, cousin, somebody, crazy old man at the nursing home.
Okay, do it, Brad. Do it. Do the voice.
I saw aliens.
My favorite thing in the world.
I know, it's awesome.
This just in, by the way, Growly Bear on Twitter said, "Close Encounters of the Sixth Kind. Meet the alien Fockers."
Oh goodness, I hope it's better.
I love that guy. He's awesome. Every show.
I know. Thank you so much for watching and participating. Fun fact, that's how I ended up on the show.
Yes, you did.
By harassing these two.
Mm-hmm. You needed it.
And that's how you become my girlfriend. So
Yep.
Watch out. I mean, wait a second.
Okay. No, this is a very interesting story. I like the fact that the aliens are described in that classic manner.
Yes, like they're small slits, big eyes, no hair, very small in stature.
Years before Roswell or any other report of this classic type of alien, the classic grays.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a shame that there's not more information or there's not more people that talked about this afterwards. Or, just like there's not more information out there about this. Like there is for Roswell.
Yeah, it's too bad they kept it a family secret, it sounds like, for many, many years.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess if you're scared enough.
Yeah, that's true. All right. We'll put the links to where you got this information from in the show notes. You can read the whole article yourself. And that number again is 703-222-0978. And here's one more for you. 805-328-3966. There you go. That's our voicemail number. 805-328-3966. Or email aliens@gncasts.com. We're also at gncasts.com/aliens. That's our show page. You can find out all the contact information, the links, where to subscribe, all the stories that we've talked about on this and our other past episodes, all at gncasts.com/aliens. All right, you guys ready for picks?
Sure.
Yes.
I'm now calling this picks and warnings.
Sounds good.
Anessa, it's your fault. You said it, so we're gonna call it that from now on. Picks and warnings.
It sounds appropriate though, because we do have quite a few warnings.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, we've taken the time to watch this. We've suffered through it, so you don't have to.
Do it so you don't have to. Yep, exactly. All right, Brad, looks like you're first.
I am. Actually, this is a co-pick.
Yeah, because I didn't get to watch what I wanted to be my pick.
Oh, the alien exorcism or whatever it was?
No, that was one that I had tried watching a while ago.
Oh.
I do plan on watching this for the next show, but it was one of those things where I was like, hey, I'm gonna watch this, and I start watching it and then something comes up. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna watch this, and then something comes up, and it just didn't work out for me. But I did get to watch this one. And if people want to know, spoiler alert, hopefully, unless it's like really horrible, which is possible, my pick for next week is going to be, is it Aliens versus Ninjas?
Oh, I can't wait.
So, but this week, it was a PBS documentary special thing called War of the Worlds, the American experience?
Oh, that's my cue. Yes. It's something that was at our local library. And we go there every Saturday. And Anessa and I seem to have a psychic moment where she had thought about. I picked it up and from the DVD rack, and she's like, "Oh, I was thinking about we should watch that." So, anyways, but that's for another podcast, Psychic Connections. Anyways, so I think that one of the most fascinating phenomenon with radio, if you think about the power of what radio can do, and especially if you're a sci-fi geek, you know about the quote unquote panic that the War of the Worlds original broadcast had on the American people. And Orson Welles, at the young age of like 23, was the director of this radio theater show, the Mercury Theater radio show. And it was a weekly show where they reproduced certain things in fiction and whatnot. So they had decided that for Halloween, they would do a version of the War of the Worlds. And this video, which was done in, I believe it was 2008. Yeah, it was 2008. They go into very, very specific detail about the history, what happened, and they even got a hold of the original letters that were sent to the FCC complaining about this program because people were scared, or in some cases people had applauded the particular program because they thought it was spectacular. And what they ended up doing to try to give you a sense of the actual feel of the time period is they took these letters and turned them into an interview. So based on what was written in the letter, they wrote a script for somebody who represented the person that had written the letter and what their specific reaction was to the broadcast. And it was a really, really kind of fascinating setup as to how they did that. And it's well worth a watch. If you're even remotely interested in Orson Welles, War of the Worlds, or how they did old-time radio shows, this is definitely well worth the watch.
What year of documentary was this? When did it come out?
This was done in 2008.
Okay, so it's fairly new.
Yes.
Well, it's 7 years old.
It's 8 years old.
Oh, in the scheme of things, it's still fairly new.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it was really cool to watch because, like Brad said, they really tried to give people more of a feel about that time period. So through the clothing, through the black and white filter on the screen, people talking about, some had their praises, their reactions, what they thought. There was one lady who had some chicken in the freezer, and she she was listening to this broadcast, and she's like, well, we're not going to be here tomorrow, so let's get the chicken out of the freezer and eat it tonight. And then they come to find out that it was just a show. And some people may or may not realize, they know of the history that the War of the Worlds caused a lot of panic. And during the actual broadcast, the local authorities started getting phone calls, and at some point the radio station folks went to the studio and they're like, you guys need to do a break right now, tell everybody that this is a broadcast. And Orson Welles was like, I'm on a roll, I'll do that later. And he just kept on with the show. He didn't stop for another good 10-15 minutes before they finally had a break announcing that it was part of the Mercury Theater production. So But yeah, and they had the original script, and just to kind of see how it morphed into this experience, because the initial idea was like, yeah, I think he had mentioned that he really liked the story, and he's like, I want to do this, but they weren't entirely convinced that Orson Welles had actually read the story. Like, they think he might have just picked one out of the hat and said, hey, I love the story, let's do this one. And so him and other people were trying to figure out the format with how to tell the story, and what they were doing, it just wasn't working. And because during this period of time you were getting a lot of like news alerts and newscasts on radio, even some where they interrupt the programming based on what was happening in Germany. And it's before the Second World War, and so people were already in this mind, there's a lot of conflict that could potentially go on. And so to hear this, it wasn't anything that would be out of the ordinary, except instead of Germany being what you would expect on the radio, it was aliens. But even then, a lot of the people that listened to War of the Worlds thought it was Germany that was attacking the eastern shore of the United States. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh,
and so it's like little things like that with watching the documentary is really fascinating, and I highly recommend it. I would say the documentary was about 45 minutes in length, maybe an hour at most.
Thereabouts, yep.
So yeah, highly recommended. It is War of the Worlds. Totally forgot the second half of that title. The American Experience.
Yep.
Yeah. Through PBS.
Yes.
All right. Cool. Is that part of the American Experience documentary series, or
Yes.
is that the official?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's part of the American Experience series, but the way that it's worded, it's War of the Worlds, the American Experience. But yeah, it's part of that series. So Brad and I found it at the library. I'm sure you could probably find it at your local library too. It's probably available on the internet for purchase. I don't know that they... Ooh, it says watch online. So you might be able to watch it through pbs.org.
Okay. Yeah, they put a bunch of their stuff up online, so I'm
They
sure that you
do. So it might be on there. If not, it'll probably be on there later. I think it might actually be on there right now. So yeah, just check out pbs.org.
Excellent. I'm going to put that on my list. Things to watch.
Definitely should.
All right. My pick, or warning, we'll find out, is Alien Invasion text adventure game. Brad?
What?
Right up your alley. There you go. You do a podcast called Adventure Party.
I do.
Yeah. Do you guys ever talk about text-based adventure games? The old you encounter this, you have to do this or that.
Like Zork?
Yeah.
I don't think we have, no.
Or wagon train? No, not wagon train.
Oregon Trail?
Oregon Trail, yeah. More like
train.
You got diphtheria.
Exactly what this is.
Lols.
It gives you a scenario, and you have to escape from the aliens. And I hadn't played a game like this in a long, long time, and it took me good 15 minutes to get through it. It's not long. It's fun. So if you have a few minutes and you want something not too taxing on your senses, something that you don't have to mash the keyboard to run away from the aliens, just putting in a yes or no, this is the game for you. I'm terrible at video games, so this is perfect. This is my speed. Answering questions. Yes, sir. I can do that.
Sweet.
It's free to play. It's at textadventures.co.uk. And we'll put the link in the show notes. And that's pretty much all I got. I mean, if I tell you any more, I don't give it away. It's basically you're a person, the aliens attack, you have to escape, and you get the choices of where to go and what to do. And that's pretty much the gist of things.
Cool.
Alien Invasion text adventure game. That is my pick this week.
Nice.
All All right. That's going to do it for this episode of the Alien Invasion podcast. You can subscribe to this podcast via iTunes. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and write a review. Please and thank you. We're also on Stitcher Smart Radio. You can leave a comment on this episode there when it comes up, when it gets posted on Stitcher soon. All subscription options and links can be found under the subscribe tab at gncasts.com. That's going to do it, like I said, for this edition of the Alien Invasion. I'm Dave Nelson. That is Anessa, and that is Brad. And let's do final thoughts. Brad, you're first.
Deadpool was pretty cool.
All right. We're going to talk a little bit more about that on the Sci-Fi Geeks Club tonight. So if you're not a subscriber to that podcast, please go ahead and subscribe and check out our conversation of Deadpool.
I was trying to segue into the other show.
Okay, perfect. No, I saw what you were doing there, and I was helping out.
Bam.
All right, Anessa, your final thought.
Maximum effort.
I don't know what that
Deadpool.
Deadpool's battle cry at the end.
Yeah. Well, he does it several times throughout the movie, but
I haven't seen it, so
What?
Spoiler alert.
Oh.
That's okay. I didn't really have any interest in seeing it. I will see it just because I've heard so many great things about it eventually, but not really high on my list of things to do. But
I see.
All right. Okay. I didn't mean to end on a down note. I'm sure it's a great movie, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. It's just not,
Yep. No, I hear you.
Sorry. All right.
Maximum effort.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye.